49 seconds left in the power play. Gurianov takes it in. Perry in back of the goal. To the outside now. In control. Wound out by Hintz for Klingberg. One-timer. Scores! Dennis Gurianov wins it in overtime. The Dallas Stars are on their way to the Stanley Cup Final.
All right, we are back here on the podcast. You guys heard the call on NBC Sports of Dennis Gurianov's overtime winner to send the Dallas Stars to the Stanley Cup Finals. Join me today to talk about hockey on the podcast, as he always does, the great Pete Consadori. Pete, welcome back. How are you?
Mike, I'm very sore. Went to the gym today.
Yeah.
It was a mistake.
Are you playing hockey yet?
So I had we have some return to play clinics in New York. So I play in a pickup game and a return to play clinic, and it's kicking my butt. I'll be honest with you. My legs feel like Jello, and I think it's a sign, because before this whole quarantine hit, I was like, I'm going to join a gym, and then 2 days later, the country shut down. So I probably should have taken it as a symbol of like, maybe you shouldn't be going to the gym.
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe that was the year was trying to tell you, Pete, you shouldn't go to the gym.
2020 is not your year, Pete. It's okay though. You'll get there.
I mean, unless you're a Stars fan or a Lightning fan, I don't think this is your year.
Yeah, I mean, even so, like, it's not even the real Stanley Cup, in my opinion. It's like, okay, there's no one in the stands.
Yeah, this is
nothing.
If this is not, there's nothing more 2020, like, especially like right now in the NHL, you have a team from Dallas and a team from Tampa Bay playing for the Stanley Cup in a bubble in Western Canada with no one in the building.
Yeah, honestly, I don't. You got like probably the two warmest climates going at each other in Canada, playing hockey.
Yeah, and if this was in June, this would have been a bad rating situation for the NHL, because these are two markets that like don't do very well in the TV ratings for the hockey, and now you got it in September with the NBA playoffs going on, with baseball going down the stretch, with the NFL going on. It's not ideal for hockey at the moment.
Yeah, when it comes to ratings, you're right. I mean, think about, the two markets that are playing. I mean, Dallas has a big market, and Tampa Bay does too, but it's not like it's the Rangers versus, I don't know, the LA Kings, right? Like it was back in 2014. It's not like Boston versus, Minnesota, right? Those are two huge markets that no matter what time of year, you're getting the views, right? I think they have a captive audience right now, the Lightning and the Stars, because of this pandemic and because we were waiting so long for hockey and it's finally the Stanley Cup Finals. It's just weird that we have the Stanley Cup Finals here with only like a week and a half left of September, when usually we'll be gearing up right now for the next season, right? This is where like camps would start, and mid-October is when the actual season would start. So this is a very weird time for hockey fans, and I'm sure for the players as well, especially the players that haven't played since March. The Buffaloes and the New Jersey Devils of the hockey league, who've been sitting around since this pandemic started. I'll be very interested to see, if we do return to play for the NHL, how they do when we first start.
Yeah, because, I mean, I'm looking at the NHL's preseason schedule from last year. I was looking at it, and it's pretty crazy. Because, I mean, like, we had a game last year on September 23rd, which is 2 days from today, with a neutral site preseason game between Ottawa and Vancouver. And today, it's September 21st on day of recording. We're recording in between periods of Game 2 of the Stanley Cup Finals. And we are getting the finals on September 23rd. So this whole thing is weird.
Yeah, I mean, it's very weird. Obviously the whole country and the whole world is dealing with something very weird and very, very important, right? Is this pandemic? We have to make sure that this pandemic ends and we can go back to a new normal, because I don't think we're going back to normal after all this. I mean, precautions are going to be super high. But I'm more like, even the guys, like even the Dallas Stars and even the Tampa Bay Lightning, like what if they decide to start the season up in like November? These guys are going to have, a month rest after dealing with the playoffs and the Stanley Cup Final? There's going to be a lot of weird dynamics this coming season.
Yeah, for sure. And before we get to the match, I want to pour one out for the Islanders here, who did have a hell of a run up in the bubble. They get to the conference finals. They lose in 6 to the Tampa Bay Lightning. And what's your big takeaway from what the Islanders did up there?
I mean, look, you have to give the Islanders credit. As much as I'm not an Islanders fan, I'm a Rangers fan. It pains me to say it, but you got to give them credit. Obviously, they had a hell of a run. Matt Barzal is in a league of his own. I mean, you have to look at him and say, if he keeps going the way he's going, he's the next big name in hockey in general, right? I don't want to go as far as saying Sidney Crosby and Connor McDavid, but he's up there. So the Islanders fans, New York fans in general, when it comes to hockey, have a lot to look forward to when it comes to the next maybe 5 or 6 years, because it pretty much seems like the Islanders have their roster set for a pretty good number of years, and the Rangers have, their first overall pick coming up in October, I believe, which is pretty soon, I think a couple of weeks. And they have a lot of prospects too, and some players that are set. So there's some exciting hockey for Islanders fans and Rangers fans coming up.
Yeah, Devils fans also have Jack Hughes and Nico Hischier, so there's something there too.
You know what's funny? Like, it's no like disrespect to Hischier and Jack Hughes, but like, I feel like it's very quiet over there. Like, I feel like no one's like, oh, did you see how good they're playing? Like, even though the Devils didn't do well, like, they have those guys, they have such a bright future. Like, I haven't heard really anyone emphasizing that as much as they're emphasizing like Matt Barzal, as much as they're emphasizing other players like Svechnikov in Carolina. So it's just a very weird dynamic. I don't know if like the Devils have become like the back seat to all other tri-state area sports right now, hockey teams right now. But I haven't really heard much talk about like, oh, look how bright our future is for the Devils. It feels like very doom and gloom right now.
Yeah, it does. And also, they've not played since March, so they're kind of the furthest thing from people's minds in terms of hockey. At least the Rangers have a lottery win.
Yeah, I mean, look, as much as Steve gave Joe all that crap, he was right. Like, if we would have won, we would have faced the Bruins and God knows who else, and it would have been for nothing.
Yeah, it did work out well. Let's go back to this matchup, though, at the Stars and the Lightning. Game 1, obviously, the Stars win. Game 2, as we are recording, Tampa Bay is up 3-1 entering the third period. What's your big takeaways from what you've seen these first couple of games?
The big takeaway is that we probably have a rivalry on our hands brewing from this. Dallas Stars and Tampa Bay Lightning, mark my words, will be a rivalry throughout seasons to come. It's definitely a more physical game. Tampa Bay's got to stay out of the box, though. Tampa Bay's been in the box, I think, 5 times this game already, and we're only in the second period. So Dallas has a lot of offensive prowess. Okay, they have Pavelski, they have Sagan, they have Ben, they have Radulov. They have an unexpected prowess, offensive support by Kiwi Ranta. All right, he came out of nowhere with a hat trick, either the series before this one or 2 series before this one. Pavelski had a huge tip. Deflection in front of the crease to get them that 1 goal, 3-1. They got to stay out of the box. This is not a time to give Dallas time and space. Yeah,
so that's for sure. In terms of the Stars, what we've seen of them so far, I think is their big key to success in this series.
The key to their success in the series is to capitalize on their power play. I believe before this goal, they were 0 for 3 on the power play. And because Tampa Bay is playing very recklessly and playing the body a lot, they got to capitalize on these power play opportunities. Also, what I've noticed too is that because Tampa Bay is being a lot more physical, there's a lot more pinching going on and more breakaways. So they have to capitalize on that as well. Big guys have to step up, right? Klingberg is one of the guys who can get a shot in through the point really, really well. He's well known for that. He's got to do that a lot more. Sagan and Ben, Radulov, Pavelski, they all got to produce. Corey Perry's got to get under their skin. All right. Corey Perry's a decent player. I'm not really a big fan of his because of the way he plays, but he is a player that can get under the skin of the Tampa Bay Lightning. So I think if they keep playing with the intensity and speed that they are, and they can themselves stay out of the box, I think that's going to be the key for them to win this series.
Yeah, that's definitely interesting to watch with the Stars, especially the power play. They are getting opportunities. It's not taking advantage. What about the Lightning? What's your big key for them besides obviously staying out of the box would be ideal?
Right. So the big key for them is to stop playing the body so much. I know it's a very, very hard, intense game, especially the Stanley Cup Finals is another animal. I believe the Stanley Cup Finals is the best playoff finals in Major League sports in the country. I might be biased because I'm a hockey fan and I play hockey, but it is just the amount of hits and the amount of speed that this game is played at. I just feel like there's no comparison. I think the Tampa Bay Lightning have to get back to the fundamentals of hockey. What I mean by that is you don't have to blindside someone center ice to try to hit a hit and be like, we're going to wear them down. You have enough offensive prowess. Remember, Steven Stamkos has not played. He has not played this entire playoff run, right? I believe, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
And he's still not back here for game 2. They don't need Steven Stamkos to score. They have Kucherov. They have Point. They have Hedman. They have McDonough. They've got Yanni Gord. They have Maroon, who's a big guy. Like, they have so many people that have brought them to this point. They need to be a little more confident. Not cocky, but confident in what they have. So for me, I think for Tampa Bay, let's go back to the fundamentals. Let's not pinch as much. Let's not take those bad penalties, because some of those penalties that I saw in the second period were almost retaliatory. Okay? Someone finished their check from the Dallas Stars. Tampa Bay was in their face trying to get into a fight. Guess what? They go to the box, power play Dallas. So we need to make sure that we're playing. I'm not a Tampa Bay Lightning fan, but it is Rangers light at this point. Tampa Bay needs to take a step back and go, look, we're a good hockey team. We can skate with these guys. All right. Keep the momentum. They say a 3-goal lead in hockey or in sports is the worst lead to have. So obviously this is where they were at, 3-0. Now it's 3-1. They're about to start the third period. Keep it stupid simple. Keep the fundamentals. Play the point. Play the position. And stay out of the box.
Yes, all those are big keys to this thing. One other thing I want to touch on with this series before we get a prediction here is, like, the schedule is very interesting because due to the fact, obviously, that A, the players want to get the hell out of Dodge and go home with their families after this is done, and B, because of the players in the calendar where we are and the desire of NBC to avoid the NFL Sunday, we have a back-to-back with games 4 and 5 on Friday and Saturday. What do you think about how that can play into the series?
You know, I don't think it's going to play too much. I think that it's definitely not an ideal situation for the players. But they're all amped up on adrenaline and everything anyway. They don't have to travel either, right? They've been in this bubble. They've been in this hub city for, however many months playing these games. Yes, the back-to-back's not ideal, but it would have been a lot worse if they said, hey, we're going to have a back-to-back. Now you have to travel from Tampa Bay to Dallas or Dallas to Tampa Bay. So I think you'll expect from both teams a maybe slower game and maybe a little more pinching where they're not as patient. But I think it's going to be a huge difference than if you had, 1 day off, 2 days off.
Yeah, I think the key is what happens in game 4 with that too, because like if they play this brutal smash them up 3 overtime game in game 4, game 5 being like the next day, it might be like you said, might be a little sluggish.
Yeah, you might see that game 4. It's game 4 and 5, right?
Yes,
Friday, Saturday.
Yeah, 4 and 5 of the back-to-backs.
Right. So you may see in game 4 that they're not going as hard, and then game 5 is a hard fought game, or vice versa, or maybe both are really hard fought, and then game 6 they all look dead, right? I mean, we don't know how they're going to play. I mean, this is again the Stanley Cup Finals. Everyone's trying to get that cup, trying to get that championship. Both teams are hungry for it. Okay, the Dallas Stars, incredible run. They have a lot of momentum. Tampa Bay, they've been in this position before and lost, and they want a cup bad. So I think the desperation on both teams is going to be high. So the compete probably will be high as well.
All right, so let's make a pick here before we go on to what we're also doing today. We're also going to do a little bit of pop culture before we go to the NFL picks. We'll do a bit about our favorite show, Holy Moly. So give me your pick. Who you got winning the cup? We'll assume here at the Lightning hold on here, and it's a 1-1 series.
And it becomes a 5-game series.
Yep.
I think this is a hot take. I think if Steven Stamkos doesn't come back, the Tampa Bay Lightning win it. I think if Steven Stamkos does come back, the Stars win it. And the reason why I say that is because this Tampa Bay Lightning team has been playing with each other for however many months in this Stanley Cup run. When Steven Stamkos comes into the lineup, someone comes out, and now they say, well, Steven Stamkos is on the ice. Let's get the puck to him. If he doesn't perform, then that kind of messes them up. I think Tampa Bay is, and Tampa Bay is a little, more. What's the word I'm looking for? Oh God, I'm blanking. They're a lot more easily susceptible to taking penalties, but I think they're going to learn from their mistakes in this game, and they won't take as many as game 3, 4, 5, 6, however many games it goes. So if Stamkos comes back, I think Dallas has it. If he doesn't, I think Tampa Bay pulls it off in 7.
Yeah, you think this is going 7 either way?
I think this is going 7 either way. I can't see any of these teams giving up. And, I mean, look at the Rangers and Kings back in 2014. I feel like the Rangers were trying their best, but they kind of knew. It was like, all right, the Kings they've been on a run and a tear since the first round. There's nothing they can do. I mean, even going to double overtimes, it was going to happen. That was a 4-1 series win for the Kings. So I can't see this game. I would be shocked if it was 5, but I could definitely see it going at least 6 or 7.
Yeah, I definitely think it's going to be fascinating to watch this series play out here. And it's going to be fun that we all want to talk also, one thing before we go into this, I'm going to talk a little more next week on the podcast about like the winter sports when they come back for the next season. So we have the draft coming up about a week after the finals ends, October 6th, October 7th. We'll see the Rangers draft Alexis Lafreniere. The start of the next season is a little bit TBA. I mean, Gary Bettman, I think the other day at his State of the League press conference said, we're going to try and play 82. We're hoping to play in December. We don't know yet. We don't know if the Winter Classic is going to be moved. We don't know when we're going to have fans back in the arenas. What do you think the outlook for the league will be about when they start the next season?
Well, I think the other thing that we have to worry about on top of what Bevan was saying is if the Canadian border is going to be open.
Yeah.
Right. So if the Canadian border is going to be open to the U.S., then we can have the possibility of the teams traveling. All right. So baseball's been traveling, football's been traveling. Basketball has done the hub city like the NHL did. So I can't see why basketball and hockey could not follow what football and baseball are doing, especially because, knock on wood, our numbers for COVID is going down and it looks like we're heading in the right direction. Obviously, we have the cold weather coming up, but again, being hopeful, we're headed in the right direction when it comes to this pandemic. So if Canada opens up their border for professional flights or something like that, like even if it's not for vacations, but something that could be a professional kind of thing, I see at least the season starting maybe in December because, again, there's so many unknowns, right? So at least in December in their own home arenas without fans. And then I can see, as depending on which area you're going to, sporadically having fans. Because there are like 2 arenas, 2 stadiums in football where people can be in the stadium, but like social distance and it's only like 25% capacity or something like that. So if that's happening in NFL and that's outside, like I can't see why hockey and the NBA can't do that. But I really don't think we're going to see a NHL season like regular season start until at least December, because let's say they get through the draft in October, you still have training camps, you still have preseason. If they want to play all that with an 82 game season with regular playoffs, you're probably looking at a December start.
Yeah, I think the things you brought up here, a great point with the Canadian border, which is like obviously like they did not open it for the Toronto Blue Jays. They had to play their whole season in Buffalo, and like if you're not playing it in the NBA, it's not a big deal. Say, okay, we'll relocate the Raptors for a year and we'll put them in the United States to travel. But like,
right, there's too many teams in Canada.
Yeah,
there's too many teams in Canada for you to just be like, nah, we can't have them. Where are you going to put them? You know, like it.
Yeah, I mean, like you could. I mean, theoretically, you could do some like a hybrid model where you have some divisional play and you have like a Canadian only division. But like, I just think the inequity. I think they may end up waiting longer than we think they will, because especially if they want to get fans in the buildings. And if these reports on the vaccine are true, it might get it starting to be deployed in like the second quarter of 2020. It's like I see him saying, okay, we'll start with the Winter Classic on January 1st, and then we'll play without fans, and then slowly build into fans. And I think I don't think the 82 game season is happening. I don't think they want to be playing into the summer regularly.
Well, I'll tell you one thing about the Winter Classic. I feel like the Winter Classic is not going to be a thing if they can't have fans. I feel like the Winter Classic, where they get all their revenue from all that, is that, hey, you can go and sit and watch a hockey game outdoors. If you have no fans, it's the same thing as this watching on the bubble. Like, what's the point of having it in the stadium, right? Like, I'm not trying to say, like, I wouldn't like to see that, because I love the Winter Classics and I love the outdoor games. But if you think about it, those outdoor games are mainly for the fans.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine them doing a Winter Classic in an outdoor setting with no fans. They may do a Winter Classic just to say, hey, this is the Winter Classic. We're going to make it an event, like almost like a Super Bowl event. We're like, hey, we're going to have this, and this. We'll have a performance, make it a day, have your family over, watch the Winter Classic. I don't think they do it outside in the stadium, though.
Yeah, I think that makes some sense because I mean we've heard Bettman say too, like, okay, if Minnesota, like it's going there this year, it's like we'll make out to Minnesota down the line, like what the NFL did with the draft, where they said, okay, we'll give it to Vegas down the road. But like,
Mhm.
I think if you want an 82 game season, you have to really compress, which is not ideal for these guys who have to travel and play back to backs and all that. I also think you got to look at it. It's like, hey, like we got to get close back to our regular calendar at some point. We're going to have to take a hit somewhere. Like this might.
Well,
I think the problem is obviously
this,
you want to get the revenues back, but like, do you want to be playing the Stanley Cup Final in August next year?
well, that's the thing too. How do you have the expansion draft, right? If you're playing in the Stanley Cup Final, so like for example, if they want to hold the expansion draft for the Seattle Kraken in July when they do the awards, right? I believe it's in July usually, or June, right after the Stanley Cup Finals, right? If you're going to hold it at the same time, what are you going to do? Have this draft and then the players still play under contract for the team that they got drafted from if their team's in the finals? Like, how does that work? Do you have to wait until the finals are over? But then if you wait until the finals are over, that means Seattle's not going to have a roster until like a week before the next season starts if they have to compress it. So it's a very weird time next year. And it's a weird timing problem that Bettman has because of the expansion draft. There was no expansion draft this year. And he said, okay, look, we'll just, again, we'll push it and we'll play an 82 game season. We won't have a bye week. We'll
Skip
play
the
more
All-Star
back to backs. It's going to be, we're not going to have the All-Star game this year. Or if we do, it'll just be like a couple days and we're not going to drag it out. Right. Like if he really compressed it, he could probably get the Stanley Cup final done by early August. He probably could. Right. If you do that by early August, you can skip the NHL awards ceremony, right, if you wanted to. If you want to, you can also do it 2 days after the Stanley Cup Finals and just say, look, no hard feelings. You can't party that much. We have to do the awards, right? This is your job. But then, during the awards, you're going to give Seattle their roster in August and then try to start in October. That's not a quick turnaround for Seattle to figure out what they're doing.
No, I think the answer is going to have to be a shortened season in some way. I know it's tough because you want to get the revenue back, but like I think you have to be realistic. I think the NHL, least of all, can afford to be competing, going on TV in the middle of August, their playoffs, because they don't have the cachet that the NBA does. The NBA's had ratings be down for this whole thing.
Well, absolutely.
Yeah.
And the shortened season, I'll be honest with you, the lower market teams are probably going to get hit super hard because of all this, right?
Yeah.
The Rangers, the Toronto, I was going to say Raptors, the Toronto Maple Leafs, Boston, Montreal.
They'll be fine.
All these high grossing market teams, they'll be fine. They could take this hit. But like Florida Panthers,
Arizona.
Arizona. I mean, you were already like, Winnipeg's got a pretty good market though. Like they're not a high market team. Like they're not the New York Rangers or the Toronto Maple Leafs in terms of grossing money. But like when it comes to Canadian teams, you get a packed house every game. It's not like Florida Panthers where you see half the stadium is just empty, not even during a pandemic.
Hurricanes.
So the Carolina Hurricanes, though, I think they're getting a little bit better when it comes to that. But yes, you are correct.
Yeah.
But those are the teams that are going to take the hit. Those are the teams that, God forbid, may have to relocate in 6 years because they couldn't come back from that hit.
Yeah, it's all stuff we can discuss. We'll discuss it on the podcast next week. Our legal guy, Phil Frey, is coming back on to talk about these winter sports and also college basketball coming back. But